Hey everyone, welcome back to Eternal Finder. Today we are diving into a really controversial topic, Christian Zionism. Recently, Tucker Carlson talked about Senator Ted Cruz and how his version of Christian Zionism may actually be harming Christians in the Holy Land. In this video, I'm going to play you a short clip to explain why this matters and what it really means for US politics in the Middle East. And I invite you to comment below if you would agree or disagree with this discussion video.
Why do American Christian churches send money to a government that does this to Christians?
Well, I think the ones that send money that support the settlements are obviously the Christian Zionists. There's an organization called Christians United for Israel, Pastor John Hagee. I was in Washington a few weeks ago because, they had a conference in Baltimore. So it's slowly growing an awareness by other Christians in America that just like many Jews are protesting and saying not in our name, and the Jewish Voice for Peace, there has to be much more done by the Christians in America because these Christian Zionists are speaking in our name. Someone like Ted Cruz, Senator Cruz, is saying and doing what he's doing because he's following a Christianity that is not the Christianity of the Holy Land. It's not the Christianity of a Catholic or an Orthodox or a traditional Christian. It's a heretical belief.
What is Christian Zionism?
Mm-hmm. As far as I understand it, they believe in the idea of the rapture. They believe that it's sort of this cruel bargain they have going with Israel, because basically what they say that they're going to be swooped up into heaven, right? And then there's going to be 1,000-year kingdom. And then there'll be the end of the world and the judgment by Christ, and he'll come back. This is a false. It was condemned as a heresy in 381 because basically there is no 1,000-year millennium to come, no 1,000-year period. The end we are in that time period now, and so it's a false belief there. And
so basically what they're arguing is that Jesus coming the first time wasn't enough.
Yeah, and it's like, in a way, it's denying the Messiah. These Christians of wrong belief believe that they need to rebuild the temple as part of their plan. So they believe that the current state of Israel, which has nothing to do with the biblical Israel, is needed to be built up so that then somehow they can restore and build that temple, fulfill an obligation of the law, and the price of that, they're willing to forego the compassion that Christ talked about and allow people to be starved and wiped out. And Christians in America have to understand that you're allowing both people who support the state of Israel, who are Jewish, and those Christians who think they're doing something in the name of Christ when it's far from the name of Christ, and it's actually causing the end of the Christian population in the Holy Land. It's going to be, the numbers have dwindled. Now we're getting to the small thousands. I just received a call the other day. Jacob's Well is in the large city of Nablus, in the center of the West Bank, which has been grievously, raids take place all the time, and it's very difficult. But what happened the other day was that a Christian-run factory. In Nablus, there's about 600 families, around 600 Christians. Number of churches, and Jacob's Well, which is a very important site to us. We always go there on a pilgrimage when we can. And their factory, no warning, no permit. First, on June 26th, I believe, the Israeli army came in and confiscated some of the factory equipment. And then 2 weeks later, they came and blew up a big portion of the factory. So how are people supposed to have... They gave no reason. There was no permit. They have lawyers. There has been, as far as I know, to this date, no court order, no reason. And the only thing, quickly what popped into my head, because it is a metal-making factory, okay, they must be using it to make weapons, right? These are Christians who have been there for decades, the centuries, I think, even the family. And it's a well-known business, all right? And no order was given. And I almost feel a little worry about saying anything because I don't know what the repercussions will be with that family because they have no recourse. Who do they go to?
Where's Ted Cruz in all this? Ted Cruz talks about how he's a Christian. Mike Johnson, as the Speaker of the House, talks about how he's a Christian. They talk about it a lot, actually.
I think they have to. We have to. I'm not sure that it can be done by we have to battle AIPAC and the Christian Zionists by the Christians standing up, say, not in my name. We can't be doing this. So if they're getting money from these organizations, then Christians have to have enough concern to say, I don't want this happening in my name. And not only it's the real people, the living stones that are there that keep the churches open, that keep things going, but also for our Christian legacy. You know, we're supposedly a country based on a Judeo-Christian heritage, right? But so where is that Judeo-Christian heritage when you're destroying the very foundations of it? St. Jerome translated the Bible in Bethlehem. The cells where he was at are under the Church of the Nativity. You know, the very roots of our Christian heritage are there, and we're letting it be destroyed. Not physically physically by killing the people, but also there's a wonderful person. When you talk about resistance, this all started with Hamas. So for the most part, I would say they're a resistance movement. They're simply people fighting for their people, trying to protect their land. And I don't know if we want to reach into the area of the whole problem is that it was never defined what Palestine is. You know, the Oslo Accords took place, and then there was nothing there was area A, B, and C. And you didn't have a Palestine. So little by little, Israel just keeps taking over the land, like confiscating, building the settlements, adding the checkpoints, and strangling the life of anybody living there. Now I lost my train of thought. I'm going to do this.
The state of Israel, is less than 80 years old, mm-hmm. but that area is thousands of years old, right. Controlled by various empires, mm-hmm. as you've said, and then finally the British up
right.
until 1948. Mm. During all that time, huge pieces of land were owned by various Christian churches, particularly in
yes.
Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
Do they still, what happened to that? Do they still own that land?
They own the land, but this is where it's sort of a lesser kind of persecution is that they use legal means or semi-legal means because you have land that was under the Ottoman Empire and there might be some documents or certain leases, and they say, well, the lease is up now, we have to renegotiate it, and suddenly the Christians have lost a portion of their land. Or they'll use middlemen and say, and it's sort of acts of deceit, and they end up buying these front companies come and buy off some of the land, and you don't realize that it's going to not Christians or not to Palestinians and being used in another way.
In Jerusalem, that happens?
Primarily around Jerusalem and Bethlehem. There's large chunks that have been taken. The Knesset sits on the land owned by the Jerusalem Patriarchate.
What?
Yeah. Well, it was their land. Yeah. And they have a lease. They have a lease for it. Yeah.